Michael Kugelman is a Senior Program Associate for South and Southeast Asia with the Wilson Center's Asia Program. Michael, welcome to Now. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So tell me, what is the Choke Point India Initiative?
It's an initiative, a collaboration between the Wilson Center and Circle of Blue, a group of journalists that go out in the world to gather information and stories.
And we're talking about the most populous, second most populous nation on the planet. So when we talk about shortages of energy or water or whatever it might be, this is no small matter.
Yeah, and India will be the most populous country in the world in about 15 years from now. So you're right, absolutely. This is no small matter. The interesting thing about India is that it doesn't have the sheer level of natural resource shortages that China and many other countries do. But it could get to that point, given how its natural resource management is so ineffective and inefficient, which the Choke Point project looks into in detail.
So what are the things, the elements? I mentioned energy and water, and I'm just guessing you're the expert. What are the areas where we are reaching this so-called choke point?
And the idea here is we're looking at the nexus of arguably the three most basic and essential human needs, food, water, and energy. And the idea here is that they all are related to each other. In order to access one, you need the other two. At the same time, if you're trying to access one of the resources, you could jeopardize access to the other two as well. So it's just a very tight, strong linkage.
And you mentioned that there are a lot of factors but not being a lack of natural resources as often is the case. So what's India doing wrong?
Where to start? One of the biggest challenges is that India, for decades, really its entire existence, has used this model of natural resource management that really comes down to very technology-heavy, industrial-heavy supply-side production, dams, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that because it generates supply, which is good. But the problem is these models tend to be very inefficient, very ineffective, very costly, and they cause a lot of waste and leakage. A lot of India's natural resources, particularly water, are lost because of leaky pipes or things like that. And then there's also other things that come into this, like corruption, bureaucracy. It just gets in the way of natural resources being managed in a proper way.
Is it a case of population growing faster than infrastructure growth could keep up with, or is it more in this area of corruption or inefficient or bad decision making in government?
I mean, all these things play into each other. But I think the fact that the population is so large and it's so growing means that there's so much more at stake. So when you have these inefficiencies and these bureaucratic slow-ups that cause things not to be done as quickly and efficiently as they could, then it just makes things more difficult.
When you look at it from a U.S. perspective, it's sometimes very difficult to imagine the nature of the problem. If there's a power outage here following a significant storm, it might last a day or three and people can be up in arms. But we're talking about routine rolling power outages and things of that nature. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And a few years ago, there was a power outage that essentially affected half of the country, half of India.
The country at one time.
Yes, it was over a day or two, as I recall.
Now, I don't know if this is possible, but if trying to quantify this in a way that thinking what you know about India, what you know about the United States or other industrialized countries that don't have similar problems, scale of 1 to 10. 1, it works all the time, or 1 is a complete chaos, no power, practically living in the Stone Age. 10, the grid is reliable, things work, food supplies are reliable. Where would you place this problem in India?
It depends what part of the country. I mean, there's really no one India. There are 10 Indias. But I would argue...
within the worst parts of the country?
Within the worst parts of the country, I'd give it a 2 or 3.
Really? That's significant?
Yeah. Within the better parts of the country, I'd say maybe 7 or 8.
And what is the difference between the best parts and the better parts?
Sure. Well, I mean, the northern parts of India are just not as well developed as the south. There's a lot more poverty. And there's just
so it's a rural-urban divide?
It tends to be, and also it's a climactic meteorological divide. Some parts of the country are just drier and just have less. But on the face of it, I mean, again, India does not have the sheer shortages that other countries do. So that's why I wasn't going to give one to anyone. Right.
What is the what is the problem for the country moving forward? Where is this manifesting as the most serious detriment to progress?
Well, really, I mean, India's economy has slowed down significantly over the last year or two. I mean, the so-called growth story in India is basically over now. And a big part of the reason, a lot of people say it's that manufacturing and services industries have slowed down, but I would actually argue that the fact that energy, that resources, energy and water are not as available as they should be has made it difficult for businesses to function. A lot of factories have had trouble producing things, and that has fed into the economic slowdown, I would argue.
Now, the Choke Point India program or initiative is quantifying some of this and identifying. Is it also looking into solutions? Are there areas of hope that we can leave viewers with?
That's where we're going. We're at the midway point of this project. At this point, we've gathered a lot of stories from the field, and we've been trying to diagnose the problem and really discuss why there's this nexus and why it causes so many problems. So there's going to be some work. We're going to be going to India in the coming weeks and months to try to get a better sense of where to go. I mean, there are solutions that one could easily identify, but I would argue that you run into problems of political will and things like that.
Yeah, not unique to any country, that problem, those barriers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And where can people go for more information?
First place to go is our website, wilsoncenter.org, the Asia program, and also I should mention the China Environment Forum, which launched this whole Choke Point brand with Choke Point China. Both of our websites have a fair amount of information, including some recent articles that were just produced by some of the Circle of Blue journalists, our partners. So there's plenty of information there.
Great, Michael. Thank you. And when you get back from your trip and this project progresses, we'd like to talk to you about it again.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.